As a YouTube channel that considers himself to be a master at creating phenomenal, breathtaking, captivating stories such as my Ray Lewis murder documentary that was dropped literally 3 hours ago, but also built his channel off of NFL news, I don't think I've had my butt kicked more than in the past month, because when Cam Newton signed with the New England Patriots, well, I was literally in an airplane on a flight to Utah and I couldn't report the news. And now, after not uploading for about 5 to 6 days, I finally dropped my Ray Lewis murder documentary, which we've worked on for days, and bam! Jamal Adams finally gets traded. So shout out to the Jets and shout out to the NFL and shout out to Adam Gase and shout out to just terrible timing, but I'm back again with another video. So guys, we are on the grind to 100,000 subscribers. I think we might be able to hit it this week. So if you appreciate the way we're grinding on this channel and you just absolutely love my content, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on my notifications. And if you're not sold yet, just leave a like just to show appreciation for what I do and boost this channel in the YouTube algorithm. Now, I gotta get to this news real quick, man. So now that I got that intro out of the way, mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I have so much to discuss here, and I gotta admit it, man. The moment I heard Jamal Adams in these rumors as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I never thought that he would get traded to the Seattle Seahawks. And let's break the news first. According to Ian Rappaport, who kind of stole this tweet from Adam Schefter, like word for word from Adam Schefter, Jamal Adams has been traded to the Seattle Seahawks along with a 4th rounder in 2022. And in return, the Jets get a 1st rounder, a 3rd rounder, and another 1st rounder in 2022, and a safety by the name of Bradley McDougall. So let's talk about the Jets side first of all. As a person that really never believed in the New York Jets front office, as a person that, I'm sorry Jets fans, I really want you to succeed. I think Sam Darnold is awesome. Despite me going to UCLA and having a disdain for USC quarterbacks, I have a lot of faith in his ability to be a good quarterback in the future. I was never sold on the Adam Gase regime. I was never sold on the way they handled their old general manager, Mike Mack. I'm just calling him Mike freaking Mack. I don't really like the way they've been doing things in New York. I don't like the fact that they paid Le'Veon Bell the amount that they paid him, but I have to give credit where credit's due. They handled this Jamal Adams situation beautifully. They didn't just impulsively trade him to the first team that made an offer for him, Texans, who traded DeAndre Hopkins for a injured running back and, I don't know, a couple of pebbles and pennies. They handled this situation really, really well. They held on to Jamal Adams and boosted up his value as much as they could, and said repeatedly they don't mind keeping Jamal Adams, and in return, they got 2 first-round picks for the guy, which is fantastic because this team is still rebuilding. They're still trying to put a good team around Sam Darnold, and 2 additional first-round picks greatly can contribute to that. Now, so for the New York Jets, in terms of this trade, as a person that never thought that there was even the slightest chance of the Jets getting this type of return for a safety that clearly no longer wanted to play for the Jets, I have to give them an A+. I didn't think they were capable of such a thing. I didn't think they could do this, so I have to give them credit. I am blown away by the way they handled this situation. And again, guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you think before you hear my opinion on what the Seahawks did? Because at the same time, I understand why the Seattle Seahawks made this trade. Bro, if you look at the Seattle Seahawks' division, your jaw is literally going to drop, because they're in a division with the 2019 NFC champions, the 2020 NFC champions, and a team that probably had one of the best off seasons in the entire NFL. And if you guys don't know by heart who those teams are, I'm saying that they're in a division with the Los Angeles Rams, who aren't nearly as good as they once were. I admit that. The San Francisco 49ers, who are consistently trending upward and have an offensive genius at head coach and a terrifying defense. and the Arizona Cardinals, who are probably my favorite science experiment in the NFL, but recently acquired DeAndre Hopkins to pair with their incredibly high upside quarterback Kyler Murray. Now, the Seattle Seahawks are essentially, once again, in an arms race with the San Francisco 49ers. I can't believe that 10 years later, this is still one of the premier rivalries in the NFL. The Seahawks have Russell Wilson. They have an okay running game that could definitely use some help. They have decent wide receivers, although they need to bring back Josh Gordon or sign Antonio Brown. But I always say this every single year. Whenever you have Russell Wilson under center, you have a chance at making a Super Bowl run. Now, defensively, there's people that are coming out and saying, why would you make this trade for Jamal Adams? Why would you give up all of these picks for Jamal Adams, a player that is probably going to have to be paid a ton of money next year if he works out? Why would you make this risk? Why wouldn't you just sign Jadeveon Clowney? And to be honest, I agree with those people. That's the one part that really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The Seattle Seahawks' rushing defense ranked 26th last season, and their pass defense ranked 15th last season. And they decided not to bring back Jadeveon Clowney, and they decided to trade a lot for Jamal Adams, which means they're pretty much doing what the Los Angeles Rams did a few years ago when they moved to Los Angeles, which is trade a bunch of first-round picks for proven talent, try to make a short run to the Super Bowl, and then fall off of a cliff a couple years later. And I don't think anyone understands the problem with this philosophy because no one's seen a team fall off really hard yet. But I'm sure after teams see what is going to happen to the Los Angeles Rams, they're going to understand why this philosophy isn't necessarily the best philosophy. Because after this season, if Jamal Adams, say, doesn't work out, and if the Seattle Seahawks end up becoming an 8-8 team, which is definitely in the realm of possibility, they need to still fix up a bunch of things if they want to be a definitive contender. Then this is going to come back to bite them. If you look at the Los Angeles Rams, which I'm going to compare them to consistently because, again, the Rams made the same type of moves. They traded 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. They are currently in a situation where they owe money to Todd Gurley despite cutting him. They paid Jared Goff. They had to trade Brandon Cooks. They paid Aaron Donald. They had to let Dante Fowler go. They lost Eric Weddle. They lost Clay Matthews. And to begin with, they didn't even make it to the playoffs last season. They're in a very competitive division. They're currently without first-round picks for the next 2 years. Well, when I mean the next 2 years, I mean they didn't have a draft pick this year, and they're not going to have a draft pick next year, and they aren't really that good to begin with, and they owe a lot of money to good players, mainly Jalen Ramsey. So the Seahawks are pretty much putting themselves in the same position. They gave up the opportunity to hunt for gold in the draft and traded 2 first-round picks for a player that's proven that needs to be paid really soon. They already tried to make a similar type of trade this past season, but they traded for Jadeveon Clowney, and Jadeveon Clowney literally only costed them a 3rd-round pick, Barkevious Mingo, and Jacob Martin. So I think this is kind of like the same as the Jadeveon Clowney trade, only this time you gave up 2 first-round picks, a 3rd-round pick, and another safety. Now, it remains to be seen how much better the Seahawks defense is going to get. If they definitely could use the help of Jamal Adams, so I guess that's fine. But at the end of the day, you might be asking, what's the rationale in this move? It's very freaking simple, guys. The 49ers absolutely crush teams with the way they run the ball and the way they run play action. So they need a player like Jamal Adams to team up with players like Bobby Wagner to do whatever it takes to stop a 49ers rushing attack. And that's probably the only way I could rationalize this move. If they want to be able to beat the Niners, they're going to need a player like Jamal Adams. And if it fails, then he's probably going to walk away in free agency and they're going to be out 2 first-round picks. Now, the question remains to be seen, what are they going to do with Jadeveon Clowney? Is Jadeveon Clowney going to come back? More recent rumors suggest that Clowney's going to go to the Saints or Clowney's going to go to the Titans. If they do bring Clowney back, then I say this entire offseason for the Seahawks, although is incredibly short-sighted, was a absolute home run. And it really depends on where Clowney's head is at. If he says, okay, I'm not getting the money I expect to get, if he takes 1 year where he takes a little bit of a pay cut, the same way Ndamukong Suh did with the Los Angeles Rams, and then signs a big contract afterwards, then I would say this offseason was a home run for the Seattle Seahawks. Other than that, that's my analysis for this trade. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Seahawks gave up too much? I think the Jets are automatic winners of this trade. I don't think they won more than the Seahawks. I just feel like the Seahawks took a huge risk. Aside from that, make sure you check out our Ray Lewis murder documentary in the description down below. I'm your boy Mikerophone, and I'll catch you guys in our next upload.